on what's going on right now, and Trev Alberts to the Colts. Mort?
Well, Chris, I got a peek at the Indianapolis Colts draft room this morning, and there is a sign on the board there, a little playoff Uncle Sam wants you to keep quiet. Loose lips sink ships. This is Bill Tobin's motto, and I got to tell you, Bill, you were pretty tight-lipped about Trev Alberts in this trade. Why was it? It caught a lot of people off guard.
Well, we thought he was the second-best defensive player on the board. Right now, we're sitting with the 2 out of the 4 best players in the draft, in our opinion.
Well, let me ask you this. You signed Tony Bennett. You've got Quentin Coryatt moving outside. Where are you going to play Trev Alberts?
Trev is about 245 pounds. He can play linebacker. He can play defensive end. Tony Bennett can play defensive end. He can play linebacker. We can camouflage a lot of our defensive fronts and our coverages by having these 2 players on the field at the same time with Quentin Coryatt and Jeff Harrod, and also with John Hannon, Tony Saragusa. We thought that Trev Alberts is next to Wilkinson was head and shoulders, not head and shoulders, but he was above the other defensive players that were available. And I think you win with defense in this league, and you win with a running game, and everything will come together.
Any chance of going to a 3-4 defense with Coryatt moving back inside?
No, no chance of that at all.
Okay. One other question, Bill. A lot of criticism about not taking a quarterback here. Your response?
Well, you know, we got a guy up there. Who in the hell is Mel Kiper, in a way? I mean, here's a guy that criticizes everybody, whoever they take. He's got the answers to who you should take and who you shouldn't take. He tells you about your team. He tells us about the Rams. He tells us about Tampa and everything else. And he's, in my knowledge of him, he's never ever put on a jockstrap. He's never been a player. He's never been a coach. He's never been a scout. He's never been an administrator. And all of a sudden, he's an expert. He's in our pick. We don't have to take anybody that Mel Kiper says we have to take. Mel Kiper has no more credentials to do what he's doing than my neighbor, and my neighbor's a postman, and he doesn't even have season tickets to the NFL.
You tell Bill Tobin feels strongly about Jim Harbaugh. Back to New York.
Well, it's kind of gotten the ire up here in New York. First of all, let's get the pick. Oh, by the way.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have made the 6th pick in the 1st round, and they've selected Trent Dilfer, quarterback, Fresno State.
Well, they took their time, didn't they? But the Buccaneers have gotten their man, Trent Dilfer, from Fresno State. The big-time arm. He's ready to roll. And he is here in New York, all smiles. And there you're looking at the war room as the Buccaneers have hung up all the phone calls, and Trent Dilfer's going to Tampa Bay, which leaves the Rams on the clock, which leaves Mel Kiper. And Bill Tobin, obviously, not going out to dinner tonight.
Well, Chris, I'll tell you, I'm secure in my position. Obviously, Bill Tobin is not very secure in his position to have a response like that. I have a right to my opinion. He has a right to his. The bottom line is when Bill said Alberts was the 2nd best defensive player in the draft, that's not a surprise. Obviously, John Theory from Alcorn State's probably not on their board. No small college player is on Bill Tobin's board. When he was with Chicago, he selected 1 small college player all the years he was there. Johnny Bailey from Texas A&I in the 9th round. Obviously, the Pac-10, Big Ten, ACC is all this guy looks at. To me, it's a mistake. You cannot go with Jim Harbaugh and pass up Trent Dilfer. Forget it. That's why the Colts are the laughingstock of the league year in and year out.
April 24th, 1994, a day that will live in infamy. At least according to Mel and Bill. We'll be back with the Rams in a moment.
Good food and good friends, all part of the memories that Rondo Pools helps you create. With help from your personal designer, there's a Rondo pool that will fit your yard, lifestyle, and budget. More than just pools, Rondo helps build confidence. From fully functional spas to refreshing cascades, our pools lend themselves to leisure and relaxation for the entire family. Remember, not all pools are created equal. Rondo Pools, there is a difference.
Own the curves. Own the streets. Own any new Kawasaki with 90-day no-pay financing. 90-day, no pay, go play. For a limited time for qualified buyers. Only at participating Kawasaki dealers.
Valley Kawasaki, 16251 North Cave Creek Road in Phoenix.
Official 1994 NFL Draft Trading Card, personally autographed by #1 draft pick Dan Wilkinson. Each card comes in a lucite holder with an engraved nameplate and a certificate of authenticity from the Scoreboard, the NFL's exclusive licensee for certified autographed memorabilia. The NFL Certified Collectible sticker is also a part of this package. Don't miss this opportunity to be among the first to pick up the first autographed collectible from the NFL's newest superstar. Call now to pick up this once-in-a-lifetime collectible from the NFL Draft.
Now, welcome back to New York as Bill Tobin has jumped ahead of Mike Hickey on Mel Kiper's Christmas card list. Let's now move down to Tampa Bay and get the word from Brad Nessler. Brad, Sam Weiss has gotten his man, and the guy's ready to step right in. Brad?
That he did, Boomer. And, Sam, we talked about this yesterday. I said, could you ever see a scenario where Trent Dilfer would slide all the way and you wouldn't have to trade up? It happened.
It happened, and we thought there was a percent chance. We didn't think it was a big chance. Trent's a very fine football player. We're going to be, happy with him. We are not unhappy with Craig Erickson. This has no reflection on our quarterback situation going into the draft. It's just that he is a tremendous player, and you don't pass up that quarterback spot.
Yeah, you were saying a franchise-type quarterback you'd have to look at. Was there any question about whether or not you would try to trade up with New England? I know you had some discussions with them.
We had talks all during the week, going up, going down. We went sideways 3 times and decided we weren't going anywhere that way. But we had a lot of discussions. Well, I think we covered every base, and we feel very fortunate that Trent Dilfer's our guy. His lovely wife, Cass, is probably his best asset. I hope we can make that, that Buccaneer uniform one, too.
Well, nobody can break down a quarterback better than you. Let's take a look at Trent Dilfer, your newest Tampa Bay Buccaneer, and give us your thoughts not only on his physical part of the game, but what he'll bring to the table for you.
Trent Dilfer is a good-sized quarterback, very strong arm. As you can see, the ball is a high release. The ball is going to clear a lot of outstretched defensive linemen's hands. Great touch on the ball, not only down the field, as you see right here, put in between people, but laying the ball off. He's got an arm that keeps the ball out of the air very long. And what I mean by that, the pace on the ball is very good, and the ball still lands soft. It's not a hard catch to make.
Now, with Trent Dilfer coming in, the thought was you'd try to go after a veteran quarterback as a backup. Does that change your thinking that you have 3 young guys instead now?
I tell you, this is too fast to ask me that. I'm not that smart. I don't know whether we do or not. We have talked to a couple of veteran quarterbacks, one in particular that we're very happy with, too. So we'll probably go ahead with that. But for the moment, we'll just celebrate this.
All right. Congratulations, Coach. Go back to work.
Thank you.
Sam Weiss, who's got a brand new quarterback in Trent Dilfer out of Fresno State. Let's send it back to New York and Chris Berman. Chris?
All right, Brad, thank you very much. So for the second straight year, 2 quarterbacks are selected inside the first 6 picks. And the last time that happened, that 2 quarterbacks went inside the first 6 picks was 1987. That's when Tampa Bay drafted Vinny Testaverde, #1 overall. Kelly Stoffer was also the 6th pick overall. So 4 out of the 6 picks have been underclassmen. Dan Wilkinson and Marshall Faulk, we told you the first time ever 1 and 2 underclassmen. So obviously the first time we've ever gone a 1 and a 2 and a 3. It's kind of a Lawrence Welk underclass pick group. And Trent Dilfer now underclass goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Rams are on the clock. And there is Trent Dilfer with, I don't think he's going to wear #1, but maybe he could, but he needs a couple of numbers to fill out. He's a big kid, 6'5", from Aptos, aptly named for Aptos, California. And now he goes, stays in the sunshine with Tampa Bay. All right, with the Rams on the clock, and they have under 9 minutes to go. Let's go back to Indianapolis, and Chris Morton says, the shrapnel settled yet, Chris?
I'm dodging them right now. I tell you, the Rams here, they did sign Chris Miller. He is somewhat fragile, and I think they need a blocker. They could be looking at Aaron Taylor here of Notre Dame, an offensive lineman, or they could go to defense. Aaron Glenn, a defensive back, highly rated by the Rams, also gives them a return man, and we all know that punt returns are going to be big in the NFL this year. Let's go to Dallas with Chris Myers right now.
All right, Mort, the Ram draft room is in disarray, as one member of the organization told me that when they were on the clock before, Chuck Knox went into a room with a club official, came out, announced the trade, and shocked members of the staff by not taking Dilfer and making the pick. And in his words, moments ago, the Rams weren't sure what they were going to do with their selection. It should be pointed out that last year, when the Rams tried to trade up to draft Garrison Hurst, then that didn't work out, that some questioned whether Jerome Bettis could play tailback. Chuck Knox said, no, let's go with him. He's our guy. He can do do that, and he ended up having an outstanding year, being Rookie of the Year for the Rams. But there may be a power struggle going on with the Rams now, as Mort pointed out earlier, and as evidenced by the shakeup in their pick and not drafting Trent Dilfer. We'll be keeping an eye, too, on the Dallas Cowboys here in the War Room. It's a little bit slow since the Alvin Harper deal fell apart. Let's go back to Chris in New York.
All right, Chris, so the Rams now on the clock with the Seattle Seahawks coming up next. You know, there was some suspense, and I know it may not have been big to you out there, but you have room, and I'm not going to explain everything right now. We have time, but the San Francisco 49ers needed to make some room to give themselves enough room under the cap, get rid of some salary so they could even enter the draft fray today. They have done that. They have traded their linebacker, Bill Romanowski, who earns a little bit over $1.1 million. They've traded him to the Philadelphia Eagles, who've been so decimated by free agency, most recently Seth Joyner. In exchange, the Niners get a late third-round pick, the 100th overall, and a 6th-round pick. So that now clears them with enough room to certainly draft today. With these extra picks, they'll have to do 1 or 2 more things to use all of their selections tomorrow, but that's something we'll get into later. Romanowski, linebacker, to the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, Mel, the Rams now on the board. Let's take a look at yours. Where should they be looking for value?
Well, they've positioned themselves, Chris, to go, I think, defensive back. I agree with Mort. I think Antonio Langham, Aaron Glenn would be 2 of your best players on the board. Certainly if they want to go offensive line and start surrounding Chris Miller by a better group up front, and Miller is coming off the injury, Aaron Taylor would be a possibility. So I would take Antonio Langham at this point, cornerback from Alabama. He didn't run a great 40 time during his workout, but on game day at Alabama, he showed up and made a lot of big plays, and I think that's what the Rams need at that cornerback position.
All right, Joe, where do you think the Rams should go? I mean, this is a team that, well, it's drafting low again.
Well, I think the obvious here is it was obvious in Indianapolis. I'm not going to say anything, but Bill Tobin has gotten the people that he thinks that he needs to build his football team. Chuck Knox likes to run the football. Everybody knows that. He got the nickname of Ground Chuck. Therefore, I really think that an offensive lineman, with the age of Jackie Slater and the things that have happened in the offensive line, I believe that a good, sound, solid pick to protect Chris Miller would be an offensive lineman right here. Defense, I think there's going to be some defensive backs down the road. I don't think he necessarily has to make that move right now. I think the O-line is the place he ought to go. It's a good pick. It's a sound pick.
Let me do some cleaning up, too, since we've got some time here with 5 minutes plus with the Rams to pick. Let me explain a little bit what we were talking about in caponomics, and again, we'll get more into this later on. The 49ers going into today were only $102,000 below the cap of $34.6 million. You need, if you have signed less than 51 players, which the Niners now only have 39, and actually minus Romanowski, that's now 38, you need $108,000, the NFL minimum, to draft every player. Well, obviously, $108,000 is more than $102,000, so unless the Niners had made some sort of a deal, relief, and gotten rid of a player or at least cleared up some money on their salary situation, they would not even be able to participate in the draft today. There's no other team under this situation, so now we can safely report all 28 teams will be able to participate in this, the 59th NFL Draft. We'll be back.
Walter Payton puts it on pasta. Payne Stewart, blackened salmon. Dan Marino wins. So what do you put it on?
Yow!
Tabasco.
Every year, American business wastes millions of dollars on international calls by using the wrong long-distance company. Now you don't have to waste that money. Introducing MCI's Proof Positive Worldwide. Save up to 50% off typical international calls around the world. Call by June 30th and get 1 month of free long distance. Call MCI now and put your money back in your business.
What tire do you trust in the wet? A tire that removes over 2 gallons of water per second from under the tread. The all-season MX4. Another engineering splash from Michelin.
Most people have something they're willing to pay a premium for. For some, it's art.